bank, cause it's funny, the money keep coming, I manifest it. Sing these lyrics and you'll get it. I'm the bank, come invest it. I get tracked and I have it. Money finds me attractive. I'm the type to make commas, turn a profit. I'm the boss, Willy Wonka, but it ain't chocolate. Yeah, I'm just being honest, I work for this shit. I'm usually modest, but this beat lit, so I'm going off thoughtless, talking my shit. Yeah, I'ma be the hottest designer in drip. I'm just coming with the rawness, I gotta admit.
Hello and welcome to the Marko Yamashita Show. I am your host, Marko Yamashita, here to bring you all the unbiased, completely objective news of, well, whatever's happening in today's world. And today, unfortunately, we will be talking about a serious situation that has transpired over the last 48 hours. And in case you have not seen the news releases on it or seen the chatter on the Japanese gossip sites or people that typically talk about this kind of thing, we will bring you up to date on everything that is going on. Welcome. How is the drama today? Well, the drama is pretty thick, and unfortunately, the drama entails some pretty dark stuff. Seems like... Oops, sorry, I need to... get this up here. There's a few different ways a person can look at this, okay? And we're gonna look at this from several different viewpoints. Seems like the fire got more gas thrown at it. Yeah, well, it has. Hey, if you have a question, go ahead and ask away. Dang, like Iku extra thick from Samurai Jack. Dang, yeah. Well, let's rewind to the 14th here, okay? And we'll start here on the 14th. On March 14th, Mikeneko tweeted these two tweets here, okay? And I know that they are extremely long, and we could, of course, they are written in Japanese. However, I have decided, I went ahead and bookmarked these on my deal here, and let me just go back here. Okay, so actually, you know what? I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna go here, so I can give you guys the most accurate or the most objective way of reading this. We're gonna use DeepL here to translate, so you guys can see what I'm seeing here. Okay, so she wrote, "I'm sorry for the trouble and inconvenience I've caused you. Recently, I was told unjustifiable things in a dispute with another party, and I was deprived of my favorite job, and I was suffering and unstable every day due to a large amount of slander that occurred due to talking one-sided opinions into consideration. That day, I had various flashbacks and impulsively took a large dose of medication. It seems like a friend in the neighborhood who knew of my situation rushed her to the hospital, or called an ambulance and had her rushed to the hospital. They accompanied her to on emergency transport, told the doctor explanation, and she was discharged from the hospital. I am very grateful because she said that she was in a coma. I and this, it could be a very subjective way of translation. This could also mean that she was probably likely unconscious or drifting in and out of in and out of consciousness. So, give her a little slack here with the translation. The translation could probably mean a lot of things. And without singling out the actual word in the sentence, it would be hard to guesstimate on what she was actually trying to say. The hospital recommended that I continue to stay at the hospital, but I was able to leave with the promise that I would definitely go to. And again, this is automatic translation, so take it with a grain of salt here. It says psychosomatic, but this is probably means psychiatric, because from experience, I know that the psychologists do the counseling aspect of treatment for mental disorders, where the psychiatrist specializes in the medication portion of things and overall treatment of the patient. So it's actually broken down into two different aspects. So, like I said, just take it with the kind of a grain of salt here, okay? So, but this likely is supposed to say psychiatric. And she promised she would go to a psychiatric clinic the next day, and that her friend would accompany her, and she went home. Please refrain from slandering my friend or anyone else involved. I'm sorry for my weak heart that's caused you, my viewers, to worry so much. I'm really sorry for disappointing you, even though you've always supported me. I'll do my best to keep my mind strong until the conflict settled. And to kind of give a perspective of what's going on here, and I'll get to your questions here in a second if you want to ask them. This seems to have stemmed from a situation here, which is hang on, let me get this up here. I'm assuming that's oop, lost my window. Why are you showing that? There we go. Okay. So, according to one of the gossip rags over in Japan, JCast, it says that popular VTuber Mikeneko attempted suicide and was taken to the hospital by an acquaintance. And there was some dispute about illustrations being used without permission, and that she's been telling them about the unauthorized reproduction of other her drawings and illustrations and whatnot, and she couldn't get them to quit, and that there was a bunch of stuff that they were doing in retaliation. So it seems like there was this is kind of separate from the whole Mafu situation, unfortunately. However, as we get a little bit deeper into what actually is going on here, it's going to be that there's a few things that we can kind of take in the perspective with this, okay? So there's also I am not sure who this is. I have never. Okay, so this is Sakupan. So I have never watched Sakupan, so I am not sure who this is. But I'm assuming that they have let's see here. Why are you having a problem loading here? Oh, it's because you have it locked. Okay. So I'm assuming that this is the person that they're talking about here in this article. Um, and and she says something to the effect here that some people say that people who say they want to die don't die just because but just because dead people have no mouths, people can easily kill themselves. People who are beating someone on the internet should be aware that they are part of that. So what it's very hard to also take what is being said here in English terms, because this can and likely is has some stuff lost in translation here. However, I believe what they're trying to say here in the article, or at least what the statement here that they're trying to make is, there are people out there who threaten to kill themselves, and they threaten it, and then they either don't go through with it, or they go through with it, but they go through it to the point where they think that they will be able to live, but they still made the attempt, and in that aspect, it's pretty much like a cry for help. All right, it's like saying, hey, I have reached the end of my rope. I am, I am, I'm dying over here. To put that to with, for the lack of other hyperbole, correlation of similes here. That's pretty much what they're saying. And also that what I would say in to refute this is that a dead person cannot talk. However, a dead person's story on how they became that way can tell a million stories, and it could be said in a million words. So just look at how many people have done this, and just in the last couple years, how many people have off themselves in Japan, and that brought on the entire slandering laws and internet laws that are currently being implemented over in Japan. So, there is truth in what is being said with the statement. However, you have to also take it with kind of a grain of salt, because there was the old English saying of dead men tell no tales. Then that may be true, but in today's world, just because a person is dead doesn't mean that their body doesn't have a story to tell. And if you can ask any coroner or person doing an autopsy, or anyone in forensics, and they will tell you that a dead person definitely has a million stories that they could tell just based upon their body. Let me just look at anthropology. Anthropology can go say, hey, look, we look at all these ruins and stuff that we found, and all these remains that we found, and they can talk, do entire scientific discovery papers on entire civilizations that they find, and these people aren't alive. So you have to kind of take that in perspective here. So let's get to chat here real quick here. She did say that she's a country bumpkin. That's why she can't properly learn to speak English. Well, that's what. Well, I know that she has tried her best to speak English when she can. However, there is a difference between learning it and then being live and then trying to have a communication with it and then trying to find the right words. That's why, like, I still don't have any guts to I have talked in maybe 2 live chats with other Japanese people outside of streaming, and both of those, well, one of them was with one VTuber, and we were playing we were playing Among Us of all things. And then the other one we were playing Mario Kart, and it was the same VTuber, but it's very hard to try to think of the words to say on the fly, because your mind is trying to go, and then you're also trying to play a game at the same time, or you're trying to talk and pay attention to what's going on the screen, and it's not second nature to you yet. So I mean, it does take practice, but I think that's where all streamers kind of fall short, is that we kind of shy away from practicing on our live streams. Let's see here. Well, that's mental suicide thought. Well, yeah. Yes, that is definitely the case here, and I do want to give a and I will say that this up front. She has she did she did threaten to do this, and a lot of people were saying, no, you're lying, you didn't, you're just trying to get attention, you never even went to the hospital, so on and so forth. And one of the things that she I can't even see if that's on the screen. I need to reinstall OBS because you're acting really stupid here. Where are you? Oh, there you are. Okay. You're way over there. So one of the things that she showed is on her live stream was this, and this is part of a form that they use to check in for doctor's appointments, and I did run the all the words here through spell check to make sure that I was seeing this right. And this does say March 18th, or March, I'm sorry, this does say March, and then it says date, and then I don't know why it says 118 here, but so but the bottom part here does say diagnosis and cause and everything, and the top one does say overdose and attempted suicide. So Um, yeah, I am. I have a very hard time trying to understand the Japanese way of doing their calendars, because their calendars are done a little bit differently than the United States. But I mean, but this is one of the things that she offered up front as proof that she has gone to the hospital before, or she has gone. Um, let's see here. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second, guys. So let's see. Strong EQ, I tell you, yeah. So one of the other things I do want to point out here is, and I don't want to waver away from the topic here, because this is a pretty serious topic here. Is we know that Mikeneko does have manic depression, right? Or bipolar disorder. And one of the large, probably the biggest thing with people that have bipolar is that they, when they get on the severe ups and the severe downs, that suicide is a very real possibility. And in fact, that's one of the markers of hitting your highs and lows when you are bipolar. Um, it's either dangerous actions or self-harm to yourself, irrational thinking, emotional outbursts, so on and so forth. Now, people do say, and people are, accusing her of, that. So I've seen a lot of people coming out and they're like, well, she saw Doki Bird do this, so she's just gonna try it and get attention, and everything else like that, because she wants attention. And I've seen a lot of people come out and say this. However, I feel strongly against that, and here's why. Because based upon just following her situation for the past 2 years, I can see without a shadow of a doubt that that she does exhibit most of the symptoms of having manic depression. And this is a perfectly legitimate, if not dangerous, warning sign that her manic depression is currently not controlled. And what happens with all this is you end up having situations like this. And we know that she has been under psychiatric care at one point or another, and that she had been taking medication. So whether or not the medication isn't working, or she went off her medication, or she hasn't been following up with her doctor, I mean, there's a bunch of things that we just do not know. However, she does need to be encouraged, and I think she has, based upon what she has been saying, she has continued to go to the hospital, because she in her live stream, she has stated over and over and over again, I have been going to the hospital. People say I don't go, but I have been going. And she has been seeing doctors about her situation. In fact, she spent like 20 straight minutes telling people, like, when I don't go, when people say I don't go to the hospital, I have been going. And if I can't see that doctor that day, I go the next day, and I wait until I can see a doctor, because she feels like she needs to go. So I mean, that's a positive aspect of the entire situation. And it doesn't feel like she is trying to go out there and grab attention away from everything that's going on. Now, a lot of people would also, argue that, this coinciding with Hololive's, new, or festival, their current festival, is kind of a way of trying to make her, keep herself relevant through the entire situation. And I would argue and against that, because this is, already, year two of her, not being a part of Hololive, and she has since moved on from that. Now she has referenced again that she did, she has, lost something important to her because of everything else that's happened to her, and she feels like she has constantly been under scrutiny for the last 2 years, and people just will not leave her alone on everything that she's gone through and all the controversy that's followed her. However, that's also part of, being a celebrity. So, you either ignore it, or, you just tell them off and then you move on, because you can't sit there and continuously try to, fight every single person that's talking bad about you on the internet, or you will drive yourself crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, let's quickly look back at the chat here. Let's see here. Well, she still wants to have 1,000,000 husbandos. By the way, Marco, have you played Battle Cats? I have not. I have downloaded, but I have not started playing it yet. Scummy drama VTuber. I enjoy Perils, Carrots because play my wife. I feel so bad for Petra. She did like 30 streams right at the start of how. So, well, see, here's the thing. Okay, there have been multiple articles within the last month, of people starting to question the actual legitimacy and staying power of the so-called VTuber agency and the VTuber industry as a whole. And part of those reasons are because of, number one, the controversies that have been happening with either, the main stars of each agency, with Rusia, with Marine, with even with Miko being a part of that. You've had and of course now we had the exit of Mel. There's been multiple controversies, and on the EN side, that thankfully have not blown up to the size of any color. But you still have had those controversies there. And then you also have the controversies that have happened recently with Any Color, right? And then you add to the fact that, at the end of this month, you're going to see, you're going to see Prison Project shut their doors. We've seen multiple different smaller agencies fold and close. So people are starting to, they're starting to ask questions of what is the actual staying power behind VTubers, and whether or not it can stay relevant as an agency, or if it's just going to fall into kind of a niche type thing where you have your band of either independent people that are loosely affiliated, or you have your one or two big companies, and then everyone else, and that's kind of how, like, if I want to be honest, that's kind of how, like, if you look at the history of the telephone companies, telephone companies at one point, you had AT&T, Sprint, and MCI. and people were literally sitting there and they're like, we don't have any choices here. Back in the 1900s, they forced AT&T to break up because they had a monopoly over the entire thing, and people didn't have choice. But that was kind of how it was because all the other small little companies folded into the big one. So that may not be the case here, but you may still see the talents that have departed from these smaller ones eventually get pulled into the big companies. And if this announcement holds true, and they continue to to push this this thing, and they're still able to be viable with it. Oops, that's not it. Yeah, if they're still able to push this notice here, of actually lifting Cover USA off the ground, which again is a big plus. Even if they do get it going, are they going to be able to stay afloat? Because they're I I I would have said, if you want to base your company somewhere, don't do it in California, because you're going to be paying some of the largest corporate and state taxes in the entire country. Just having your country in California, or your business in California. But I digress. Being able to establish and launch a subsidiary in the United States, that's going to be huge for CoverCore. And if they're able to do that and then keep it relevant, they could very well see the folding in of other English VTubers into their company, as they continue to expand. If as you go down into this article here, Cover USA is going to be launching in July of 2025. Okay, according to their release here, it says that they are they have moved closer to completion preparation for dispatching personnel for the head office to Cover USA. So now we expect that to start official operations from the second quarter of the fiscal year ending March 2025. Now, second quarter, so March 2025. Their physical years end on March 31st, and then their new quarter starts April 1st. So if you go April 1st and you go 3 months, you go April, May, June, and then July would be the second quarter. So second quarter of 2025, if nothing comes up and everything stays relevant and as planned, we will see Cover USA officially open their doors, which will be interesting because we have not seen anything about what they have even done in the United States as far as what their offices or what they're even going to do with Cover USA in the United States. Because I'll tell you what, I would not want to be talent in the United States and have to go to California and live there to be cover talent, And if I did, I would. You're going to be paying some of the highest income taxes in the entire United States, and that is going to be painful. And even trying to find a place to live up over there. No way. No. I would not want that. I I would rather stay an independent, to be honest. But um, speaking of which, so I do want to go back to Mikeneko here really quick because that just reminded me of another thing. Um, Mikeneko also had a collaboration deal here that was being postponed. That got postponed. Um, and there has been no word on if they're gonna ever like redo this because of the entire Mafu Mafu thing. And then also the so she stated, and I'm looking at my notes here because I jotted down quite a few things here. Um, she basically said that she was not going to stop streaming. That that she has thought about it, and but she didn't want to go on another hiatus because if she goes on hiatus, then she doesn't make any money. If she doesn't make any money, she has no income to live. She's not receiving a salary. Like somebody who is working for an agency or a company, so she has to keep streaming. But what she hopes that as she keeps streaming, that she's able to share how she's doing mentally, so she could try to make it somewhat therapeutic. And it's kind of I mean I really understand where she's coming from, and I don't know if I want to commend her for saying it, or if I feel sad for her because I know how she feels. She basically said that she doesn't like she doesn't like real life. I mean, she doesn't like the real world, and and she thinks there's 100 times more interesting spaces that she can go to on the internet than real life, and she always loved the internet, and she doesn't want she doesn't want to interact with people in real life right now, because every time she interacts with people in real life, she ends up getting hurt. And that made me kind of wonder, and kind of and I kind of reminisce back through some of the archives I still have of Rusia, and the more I dug back into the past, especially with with all the membership posts that she put up, I started realizing that she really is. Or at least she at least portrayed being a real hikikomori. She despite the fact that she's extremely attractive, and she's she has a great voice, all the posts that she put up, at least projected the persona that she projected, did express that she was very much a hikikomori. And when I started going down the rabbit hole of looking into Mikeneko's past, I saw a slew of bad relationships. Okay, and I'm not going to get into all those relationships, and who was, if she was cheating on one person, or she was double two timing, or she was whatever. I'm not going to dive into all that, because quite frankly it's a moot point. Okay, because the you can sum it up by saying she's had some very horrible relationships. She is bad at relationships. However, if you look at this from an objective standpoint, based upon what we know now and in hindsight, right? It ticks another box off of her having manic depression because of the way that she cycles through her behavioral cycles. When you have manic depression, it is extremely hard to hold relationships. It's very hard to be that one person that they met 6 months ago. I mean, if you look at like the relationship with Mafu, there were a few things. I'm not going to say his entirety of his comments were a lie, but there were a few things that Mafu had said in some of his statements that did ring true, and one of those things was that he did not. That there were times where he did not know who the person was that was yelling at him, because it was not the person that he met. And it's very true, because because of people that have manic depression, it people kind of mistake it. I mean, if you don't know all the warning signs, you could kind of confuse it with like having a multiple personality disorder, or borderline personality disorder. However, with manic depression, you could go from being the happiest, most energetic person in the world that's always smiling, everything's sunshine and rainbows, to being that closet person that just does not want to come out of from underneath the futon because life sucks. And that's very much how Mikeneko has been acting for the last 5 years. And she has left a trail of that for us to look at, examine, and be able to say, look, this is what we have, this is what we know, and this is how we came to this conclusion. Now, I'm not saying that it's her get out of jail free card. However, I do say that we do have to give her some leeway in the fact that she is dealing with something in addition to being popular, and then in addition to having a popular ex, and then in addition to having to deal with paparazzi and everyone else and other people besides me who go out and say, hey, look what she's doing, and then completely slander her online. So, I mean, we do have to give her a little bit of leeway and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, she does have mental problems. However, at least she's saying that she is going and getting help for it. Her mental problems are just out in the open. Unlike our people that have those same problems, hers unfortunately are out in the open, and people have free reign over to say whatever they want about it. And it's up to her to realize, hey, people are going to say whatever they are going to say about it. And it's up to her to either ignore it or accept it, or to try to fight every single person on the internet, which it is going to drive you nuts and is not going to accomplish anything, Yeah, Yandere. Yeah, basically. Yeah, exactly. Where is she going to get money then if she's not streaming? Well, see, here's the thing, okay? I swear I thought yesterday was January 1st. Yeah. I has no idea he hasn't removed the doctor paper. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I didn't. I clicked it on my dashboard, but it did not translate over to the other thing. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, so this is the article I was referring to. So let's see, after a few more minutes before your birthday. Happy birthday. Yeah, happy birthday. Whoever's birthday it is, happy birthday. CJC, thank you for joining the chat. Can you imagine Mafu's lawyer wants Mikeneko to stop streaming? Well, dude, okay, so there was a thing, okay? There was a thing and Mikeneko said no. She said that she said absolutely not. During the entire when he filed for divorce, his divorce lawyer tried to make her stop not stream under Mikeneko. After she lost her job as Rushia, after she got fired on and was officially terminated April 1st, his lawyer tried to compel her, or basically tried to bully her into not streaming. And the reason for it was because they were afraid that it would get out somehow, some way, that she would say something or do something to let everyone know what was going on. And of course, who's the one that opened his big mouth? Well, it was Mafia a year later. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, they try to make her stop streaming. She said, absolutely not. You have no legal authority over, whether or not I can make an income or not. And if you do, show me. And after she lawyered up, they backed off. But that was actually an actual fight that she had to do, because she's like, how am I going to make a living? How am I going to make rent? How am I going to pay my utilities? How am I going to pay for my bills? I mean, come on. Streaming is the only thing she can do. That's the only thing she can do right now, because that's that's the only avenue that she had. Unless you're gonna make her, go get, like quote unquote real job. But I mean, I think that was kind of what they were trying to do, was they're trying to demean her and degrade her into taking a lower menial job below what she was doing, after she was on top making almost $1 million in super chats a year. And I think that's absolutely scummy on their on their behalf to go out and make someone do that. I mean, I understand if you have sore feelings towards somebody, and you're bitter towards them, but I mean, come on, be a man, for crying out loud. I mean, he has never been a man in this entire situation. In fact, I haven't finished making it yet, because I have been subtitling it, I've put together a private video for Mikeneko, and it's just a simple 2-minute message to her. And basically what I'm telling her is, I'm telling her exactly what I've been telling you guys today, and what I've been telling you guys for the last couple of years, that I'm a small VTuber. I don't get many views, but the views I do get, the audience I do get, I tell them the truth. I tell them, what is going on. I give them the proper perspective, and how, and how we can support you going forward. I don't spin you. I don't spin it. I don't, slander you. I don't have anything to gain from this. There's nothing that I'm gaining from this. This is purely because, I want to at least be one of those people out there that tells it exactly how it is. Not exactly how I want to spin it and frame it to sensationalize it like some people out there, but just to tell it how it is, And that's what I do. And if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't have to listen to me, But I at least try to tell it how it is. And that's what I'm going to tell her, I mean, because, I get it. I get it that people are out there and they're saying, well, I mean, she tried to do this and she tried to do that, and she had, she just, had all this bad stuff happen to her, and now she wants people to feel sorry for her. And I get that people are going to think that. I really do. All right. However, and I'll let you in on a little secret. Your boy here has tried taking his own life a few times. It was a long time ago. A very long time ago. But I still remember how I felt back then. And I felt like there was absolutely no one out there that could hear or understand what exactly I was going through. And even after I tried, I had people that were, I had people rush to me, and they were, they rushed me to the hospital, and they stood by me for 12, 14 hours, and then I ended up being hospitalized for observation for another 48 hours. I was literally locked away, for protective reasons, so and under observation. And I saw my own parents cry. I don't like seeing my parents cry. I mean, that's the thing that hit me the most was I made my parents cry. And people like, oh, Marco's parents were crying. Yeah, if you think less of somebody after you make your own mama cry, you got a problem. And the problem is you got no conscience. No mom, no mother who loves and cares for their kid wants to see them laying on a hospital bed because they try to do something to themselves. No mother wants that to happen. No mother, respectable mother who loves their kid. Same thing with the father. No father wants to walk in and see his baby girl laying on a stretcher because she tried to do something. And that's what really makes me mad is that there are people out there that that just sit there and blow it off, and that's why I decided to talk about this instead of playing the game. Because this got to be said. This has to be said that you cannot sit here and criticize somebody when they say when they have outwardly said, "I tried to off myself." I mean, honestly, man, I sat there. I laid there on. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a story. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a story to tell you exactly how I can relate to this situation with her. Okay, I'm gonna tell you this story. All right, so I was 20 years old. I was 20 years old, and I was engaged. All right, I was engaged to a woman, a young lady. She was about 4 months younger than me. And I went out. I bought her a nice ring, $1,000, gold and diamond ring and everything. I spent my entire paycheck on that ring and everything, and had gone and reserved a nice condo on the beach, for a honeymoon and everything like that. And then a month before our wedding, I caught her cheating on me. And that tore me apart, man. That tore me apart. Because I automatically knew something was wrong or something was different, because it was the dead of summer, and she had her hair down. She had nice long curly hair, and she had her hair down. And if you know anything about having a lot of hair and having your hair down in the dead heat of summer when it's like 90, 100 degrees outside, you don't want your hair down because it makes you feel yucky. You put your hair up because then at least it makes your head feel cooler, And so, I went up to her and everything like that. We sat there and we talked and everything like that, and then I said, okay, I need to go to work and everything like that. So she saw me off, and when I went to go kiss her, I tried to put my hand on her shoulder and push away her hair a little bit, and she immediately pulled back. I'm like, what's wrong? She's like, oh, nothing. There's nothing wrong, And I said, well, why'd you pull away? She's like, oh, nothing. There's nothing wrong, I'm like, okay, so let me give you a hug, and then I'll give you a kiss, and I'll go to work, But she kept on being coy about it, and finally, I was able to push away her hair, and she had hickeys all over her neck. I was like, these aren't mine. These aren't mine. Where'd you get these from? You know? It just tore me apart, man, because I was like, I had planned to spend the rest of my life with this girl. I mean, we were, we had made plans. We talked about what we were going to do together, how we want to have our lives together and stuff like that. I was like, what is all this? Is this all, was it all BS or what? So that night, I took an entire bottle of painkillers, entire bottle, and there was probably about like, I don't know, 80 pills in that bottle. They were my father's, so I don't know how many pills he had in there, but there was like a 30-day supply, and he was taking like 3 days, so there was somewhere between like 30 and 90 pills in there. I don't know how much it was. It wasn't completely full, but it was mostly full, and I took them, and then I called her up and I said, "Hey, this is your fault, and now this is the result. Have a nice life, And then I laid there, and I just waited. And she called my mom, she called my dad. And they finally tracked me down. They took me into the ER. And that was the hardest night of my life, man. Hardest night of my life. Because all I could do was sit there and tried not to look at my parents, because they had tears coming down their eyes, and every time my eyes met with my mother, it just made her full of pain. And she was like, why did you do this? Why, you had your whole life ahead of you, why'd you do this? So I understand being pushed to the edge. I really do. And there are people out there like Mikeneko and everyone. Hell, look how things were for me back in November, December. I mean, I literally got pushed to the edge. I took an entire month off from streaming because I felt like I was being pushed to the edge. I got 8 people in my on my stream right now. But yeah, I got pushed to the edge because of all that BS with people that ran with something I said on Twitter from 4chan. I mean, I had to take an entire month off from even looking at the internet. I know what it's like to be pushed at the edge, especially when you're trying to establish an online persona or personality. Like I said, I don't do this because I want to be popular. I do this because I want to be me, and I want to be me online and meet people that are like-minded. And honestly, that is like what that's what Mikeneko wants as well. Because I mean, she has said over and over and over again, she wants she doesn't want to take time off. It's hard for her to be her in real life. She wants to she's always loved the internet. Even when she's even when she's not streaming. I want to talk to you guys. I miss you guys. I want to stream. I don't want to be streaming and have my chat full of haters, or antis, because I want to talk to the ones that want to talk to me. I mean, these are things that she said. I want to spend my days here with everyone. This is the best place I want to that I want to rest. This is the place where I want to be healed. This is my happy place. I don't want to take a break or quit. I don't have that feeling inside me. I'm reading what she actually said, the parts of the transcript I translated. These are things that she actually said. And I'm sorry if I didn't read all the comments here. I am going back on this stuff. Man, I know how okay I know how that feels, Beavers. Okay, so what so I was dating at my high school sweetheart when I was 18 years old, right? Uh, we got into this huge argument. I mean this big this huge argument, and I needed to blow off some steam. So back then, I was a lot. I mean, I had my health. I was jogging, 3 miles a day. I was lifting weights and everything like that. So I needed to blow off some steam. So I decided, hey, I'm just gonna walk home, right? And I was probably about like 5 miles from home, but it was like 10, 11 o'clock at night, and the street that I was walking on, that there was no um, there were no street lights on that street. And I was so mad. I decided I was going to play chicken with the cars. So I started walking down the middle stripe of the road, and luckily, one of my friends that I was hanging out with at the time, he came and saw me doing that, and he literally shoved me off the road, and he almost got hit by a car that was probably going to hit me. And he's like, "What, are you stupid? Why are you trying to get hit by a car?" And I'm like, why bother with anything? And back then I was being stupid. You're being young and dumb and everything, and life doesn't get any better than what it was, at the time. But I know what I've had, several near death experiences. When I was 20 years old, back again when I was 20 years old, that same friend, I saved his life in return. Some guy got road rage, and he pinned us in, dragged my friend out of the car, started just wailing on him. And so I jumped out of the car on the passenger side. I pulled him off of him, and we started squaring off. He realized I was bigger than him, so he went back into his car and he grabbed a gun, and then he pointed it right at me. And I just looked at him stone cold. I'm like, you gonna pull the trigger or not? And I could, his girl was, I could hear her screaming in the background, "Don't do it, baby! Don't do it! Don't do it! You're gonna go to jail if you do that, baby!" I'm like, "What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?" And because I could see it in his eyes, he was scared. He was really scared. And we stood there for what must have been like, it felt like 4 or 5 minutes, but probably was only like 30 seconds or so. And he said, "Screw this, man." And he got in his car and left. And then I went over and picked up my friend off the pavement, But I mean, back now, I'm like, there was no other recourse. I mean, what was I gonna do? Run? If I ran, he was gonna pull the trigger. If I ran, I was gonna leave my boy behind. I couldn't run, so all I could do was square up and say, "Hey, you gonna do it or not?" And I knew that if I reached for it, he was gonna pull it. He was, that would make him, his reflexes automatically pull the trigger. So I was gonna reach for it. And all you can do is square up with the guy. Your friend was hit by a guy in a motorcycle going 120. Oh man, I've had so many friends that had near death experiences that it was crazy. My two of my senpais in high school, they were driving in a pickup without without their seatbelts on, and they were 17 and they were underage and drinking, and they lost control of the pickup and hit a curb, and it spun the pickup around, and then somehow they must have been going really really fast, because the pickup ended up on its flipped over, but in the process it launched both of them out of the windshield, and one of them landed in a ditch, and then the other one landed 20 feet away in barbed wire, and his face was just completely cut up from landing in the barbed wire. And luckily someone saw what happened, and they called the ambulance. But yeah, I mean, that's what destructive behavior does to you. I mean, if you're, it can be a wake-up call to other people around you saying, hey, I need help, but it's also a wake-up call to you, because when you look at it objectively, and you say, man, why did I do that, you can really tell what parts of you need the most work and what you're lacking. And if you don't know what you're how to fix what you're lacking, then you can ask the right questions. How do I get what I'm lacking? How can I, how do I solve this problem? It's the internal question. How can I fix or get the right support out there to fix what is going on inside? And that's the biggest thing. I mean, see, look, this is what makes me different from other people out there, okay? Other people will sit there and they will try to scandalize this entire thing, right? They'll try to scandalize it as much as possible, and throw as much dirt together as possible to make it as scandalous as possible. I'm not like that. I'll talk about that stuff. However, we'll talk about it in the context of it happened in the past. If you're bringing up the past and we've already discussed it, it's old news. And we'll talk about what needs to be done now for, this person to be better, or for all of us to be better. And we can really start by, not letting the people that sensationalize this stuff get away with it and call them out on it. I mean, that's one thing. The other thing is, you can actually, try to show your support towards whoever's having the trouble, and be supportive of them. Like, I mean, just take the Girls of Prison Project, for crying out loud. There's no love lost between us. I mean, I'm only following 2 of them now. But at the same time, I realize, hey, you know what? After the 31st of this month, they're on their own. And if they come together and make their own coalition or whatever, hey, that's great. I don't know. But I do know that, they still need the support, and they're still going to be around. So, just because Prison Project is no more does not mean that we should just move on from those people. And that's part of what they're afraid of, is that people, and this is why I've always said, you support don't support the brand, support the talent behind the brand. The brand doesn't make the person. The person makes the person. The talent makes the person. Seeing your own parents cry is like making you freeze. It is. It really is. I mean, it's painful, man. It's absolutely horrible. And I've only made my mother cry twice. Of like that I can remember, at least as a teenager or young adult. And I'm sure that I probably may have made her cry more, but she didn't do it in front of me. But the 2 times I did, I swore to myself I would never ever do anything to make her cry in front of me again, because it was the most painful thing that that I knew that I hurt her, and I just can't do that. And I don't care what people say, you know. I mean, if you hurt your mother, you know, I mean, what kind of person are you? You know, what does that say about you? It's sad to say a huge percentage of people don't really notice the sign of depression until it's too late. Yes, it is. It is. And like so many people, you know, that we see on the internet, they're just like that in real life too. Is, you know, if they can pass that person off to the next person, they will, you know, and they'll ignore those warning signs as much as possible, unless they are extremely invested in that person. And that's the real sad thing is, you know, you have to have an investment in that person. And even then, you don't know if that person's still going to be there for them. I mean, look at me. I mean, I have an older sister that has been completely absent during everything I've been through over the past 5 years. And the reason why she's been absent, she said, it's because she told me that I'm too much of a burden to her. That she could not be bothered to help me. And I told her, I said, hey, you know what? I mean, I got a blown out back. I got failed spinal fusion. You know, I'm having problems with my knee and my kneecap. You know, I don't have any feeling in my right leg. You know, and then they, you know, they diagnosed me with a few other things too. I said, you know, I could really use some help. Like, sorry, I can't be bothered by helping you. You're too much of a burden. I'm not gonna babysit you. And it's like, hey, I'm not asking you to spoon feed me or you know, put food in my mouth. I'm just asking you for help every once in a while. But nope. But that's the difference. That's the difference with it, and I guess that's kind of why I get burned out, and I kind of get a little bit over invested in a lot of things, is because I see some of these things happen to other people, and I know what it feels like to be on the receiving end of those things, and I don't like seeing other people going through that. You know, and I feel like, you know, I have some obligation at least to try to say something either on their behalf, you know, as part of support for them, or because I know what it feels like to go through that, and it's not right, you know. But like you guys always warn me, you know, I get over invested in that kind of stuff, and there are limits that I should really try to follow. And it really takes my own audience to pull me back sometimes, you know, which I really appreciate. One more near-death experience. Me and my dad, my mom slammed into a work. Ooh, man, I have never hit somebody going that fast. But I've been fortunate in all the car accidents I've been in. I've been fortunate that I was going relatively slow, like 20, 30 miles an hour. And that's mostly because, you know, they happened during the wintertime where I live, where there's a lot of snow and ice on the roads. So, Marko, you're royalty? No, I am not royalty, but, you know, I'd like to be. Actually, you know, let me take that back. So, fun story. I was able to trace my genetic lineage back in Japan all the way to I had there was a so my family, my on my grandmother's side, her family, her descendants, she was a descendant of I believe they were the equivalent to like a governor. You know, I'm not sure what the actual title was off top of my head, but they ran one of the checkpoints on the the checkpoint line on the spine of the mountain. You know how there's different. There used to be different checkpoints in the feudal era where people, goods and everything would go up and down Japan. He used to be like the governor of one of those checkpoints. So I'm not, and I don't know if he was actual samurai, but there was that's as far back as we know. The kind of the that part of the tree kind of disappears after that. So I don't think there were many records that from that era either. So that survived. So it's hard to trace that back. Marko, like a detective suspecting. Hey, I always look into things, man. I mean, look at all the research I did going into the entire thing with Big Lawyer. I mean, I did more. I spent more time studying Japanese law than he probably spent on doing his entire stream in preparation for that, for talking about what he was supposed to be talking about. So I actually read entire documents, entire acts of law in its entirety. Just so I could have like the knowledge to be able to talk about some of that stuff, and it was kind of fascinating. But at the same time, I kept looking at what was being said. I'm like, how is this guy a lawyer? and maybe I should go and get my do my bar exam, and maybe I could actually become a ace attorney. Hey Marko, yeah, fine, you little wolf. Did you tell your parents, Marko? Oh, wow, I am way behind on chat. Marko, you really are like a good rock in a rough or diamond in the rough, just unique. Hey, if I were to brand myself, I would brand myself as an English VTuber that tries to be as unbiased, upfront, and fun loving as possible. I want to be the only place, or maybe even the first place, that people come to where you get accurate, unbiased information and news about the current topics in the VTuber sphere, while also having fun and playing video games that are either classic or popular, or just shit I want to play. Like Dragon's Dogma. I did play the prelude of Dragon's Dogma, and it does look fun. So I'm gonna schedule Dragon's Dogma for tomorrow, assuming that nothing else comes out about anything. I have been keeping my eye on what Covercore has been putting out on their site, but I gotta say, watching Any Color and watching their stock just absolutely tumbled 21, almost 22%. They lost almost a fourth of their value in 24 hours. And Covercore is literally $1. They're about maybe a little bit more than that. No, they're under $1 in value away from overtaking any color as the company that for VTuber agency. Wow. I mean, just look at that jump. That and to be fair, Cover Core also dropped 16%. So, and again, and if you look at the news, it's not just because any color took a nosedive. It's also because there is a wandering question now whether or not the whole VTuber industry is still a viable industry that will have staying power because of all the controversy that's been going on. So, I mean, that's just absolutely painful to look at. But on the flip side, it'll be interesting to see whether or not, what kind of response will come out of this, because Cover Core is, they're gonna keep doing their festival, right? Cover Core typically tries to push all their newest and best ideas throughout their festival in order to showcase what they're going to be doing for this coming year, or what they have planned for this year, or just kind of give a little sample of what's to come. And then right after they finish their festival, they will release their annual physical report of what they've made, or how things have transpired over the last year. And as you can see with Cover Core, despite the drop that they've had overall, over the past year, they have climbed 68% total over the past year, and they have steadily increased in profit and liquidity. So I always tell people, where one goes, the other goes, and where there's a drop with one, there's always a drop with the other. But it's a matter of what growth is, and also the rebound after the drop. So on Monday, it'll be interesting to see whether or not any color continues to drop, and whether or not Cover Core continues to follow it, or if Cover Core corrects because of their festival. Because if they're able to sell the company during their festival, there'll be a turnaround here. Life is a trial until you find peace. Exactly. Beavers. Hololive EN3 Advent, who happened to be the diamond in the rough yeah, there are a lot of diamonds in that generation. A lot of diamonds in that generation. I'm very happy that all of them have found the success that they have, and they've been able to literally just hit the ground running, and they haven't stopped. And I'm very, very surprised that they haven't stopped. So, so that is scary. I wasn't as big as him, but I had been working out. So I mean, I was 18 years old, and I was like bench pressing like 250, 260 pounds. So, don't forget Sony. Sony dropping Prison is going to affect. Yeah. So here's the biggest thing. This year, there are three things that we have to watch out for this year. Okay, three things. Number one, whether or not Hall Live goes through with releasing additional talent on their roster. Now, current plans, and this could change. Okay, current plans based upon what has been stated in their past notes and things that they've said it in their briefings and everything else. Their current plans are to release at least one more generation in EN this coming year. Now, that basically means after March, after March sometime in that next physical year. Now, they've also talked about releasing another JP branch or generation as well, because people got to remember, even though like Hall Live is growing in the English audience, and some of the biggest audiences are in the English audience, the main core of their money is still coming from Japan and Japanese VTubers. I mean, that's their rock, that's their core. So the current plan is to release at least two more generations this coming physical year, one EN and one JP. Whether or not they do that to coincide with maybe even starting up, or saying that the offices have technically opened and Cover USA, even if they don't actually have anything live or going on there. I mean, that may be something that they do, or they might even announce another EN concert in California, or I think it was like California or Chicago or New York, something like that. So second thing is to watch and see whether or not see what the reaction is for Sony dropping. Like right now, I mean, Sony stocks are relatively flat, to put it mildly. I mean, they've started off at 13. That's day. I mean, they've dropped like 0.23% over the last few months. So I mean, they've been mostly flat. But I mean, their stock price is pretty significant to begin with. But I mean, it's, if you look at it in a grander scale, I mean, you're seeing a drop from February. You are seeing that pretty significant drop from there. But I mean, if you look at it from an entire year perspective, they're relatively flat. And the third thing is, we really need to look at and see what groups are left. Whether it be Production Kawaii, or some of these other groups that are out there, and keep an eye on them and see whether or not they they continue to thrive, or if they continue to shed more members. Because I mean, as we know, Production Kawaii lost an entire generation that went out and founded themselves their own group. We've had a lot of people leave from like Vizojo that were big parts of that, and go out on their own. There's a lot of there's a lot of things that are kind of going on, and because of all these moving components, it's very fluid, which is good, if you are, for the individual, but it's not good for, if you're looking at people to be investors and be, long time investors in your company, because, you're not showing any kind of staying power, or, sustainability within your company. And I honestly, I kind of wonder, I did not. I either did not get to it or I missed it. I don't know if she is still doing voice acting work for the other company right now. I did see an article saying that she did put something on hold that she was working on with them, but it was like a month ago, and I don't know if that's still relevant or not. But you know, I don't like throwing her under the bus. Okay. However, her name, it does come up in the discussion about how unstable the VTuber industry is, and you can't really blame her because if you look at if you look at like the Screen Actors Guild, for crying out loud, look how many eccentric type of actors are in the Screen Actors Guild. I mean, come on. I mean, you cannot blame one person for you know being the catalyst of an entire industry being unstable. If anything, that should drive the people that do have the power to find or create stability within an industry to sit down and say, okay, how can we make this better so we can sell this to the people that we want to sell this to, so we can make us bigger. I mean, that's really what the question is right now, and the answer, at least in my opinion, is from top down, top to bottom, and this goes for cover and for any color. There needs to be we're seeing a reckoning of people just kind of having a problem, letting that problem go, but yet letting the wound fester. And sooner or later, it's going to end up like happening to any color, and you're going to see the bottom fall out. If we go back, Matt, Mr. Hacks, well, welcome. Here to check on what's happening. Okay, so quick recap. For those of you that are just coming in, quick recap. All right, so we covered what was going on with Mikeneko at the top, and essentially what has happened is that she did make an attempt on herself. She posted it on X, formerly Twitter, and she made the statement that she had made an attempt on herself, and that she had been taken to the hospital, and that she was going in and out of consciousness. She was examined at the hospital, and then she was later released. The doctors did want to keep her there for observation, but she was able to convince them that she to release her. So she was released under the understanding that she had to go see a psychiatric doctor the following day, which that person was prescribed either medication or other treatment for whatever they feel is appropriate. Let's see, what else was there. Let's see here. She did show proof that she had gone to the hospital, and that she had and that because a lot of people were saying that she's only been saying this for attention, and she did show proof in the way of images of one of the forms that was given to her, and on the form it did state that that suicide and overdose were the diagnosis of for her and everything like that. This was not this was not an attempt because of anything that was happening between her and Mafu Mafu or anything like that. This was something that pushed her over the edge because people have been using her illustrations without permission, and she has been trying to get them to stop, and they won't stop. And they have been saying a lot of slanderous things against her. They have been, pretty much, doing the entire internet rage thing, and every time that she tries to do something online, they come along and they just drop all sorts of hates, being anti and all that fun stuff. Now, her reaction to this entire thing, like I've stated before, her entire reaction to this thing is consistent with what her mental diagnosis is, that she herself has disclosed to everyone that follows her when she had been let go from Hololive 2 years ago. So I want to make this very clear, because certain people out there, and I'm not going to name any names, but certain people out there just completely gloss over the fact that she does have a medical diagnosis of manic depression. And some dumbasses out there decide, that they're just going to sensationalize this entire thing and not even talk about, any type of diagnosis that she has, or completely sensationalize it because they want to have more clicks and views. No, we don't do that here. Right? She has manic depression. Right? Her reaction to what was going on and the anxiety that she showed when she was trying to handle this situation is consistent with the high cycle that people experience with manic depression. Some of those issues that they experience include suicidal thoughts, danger and harm to themselves, thoughts racing through their mind so fast that they can't think, lack of sleep, not being able to calm down, anxiety attacks. All these things she suffers through on a regular basis. All right. So, and we know, and we also know, hey, the Cool 2T, welcome to the chat. Sound like a pirate. Sound like a pirate. Arr, matey, arr. All right. So we know that Mikeneko, we know that Mikeneko experiences and deals with these things. She's had regular bouts over the last 2 years. If you have been a fan of hers and you've been a member of her channel back when she was in Hololive, you can trace this back 5 years. There's 5 years worth of proof and information that she does indeed experience these cycles. And if you do the research and you trace her back even further, and you trace it back 8 years, you can see a consistent history of her having these high and low cycles. This is completely glossed over in the Japanese context of her history, because in the Japanese culture, mental illness is not as important as it should be, and it's not as regularly addressed unless it's sensationalized in some kind of gossip rag, like JCast or something to this effect. And it often takes somebody actually committing the act, like what we've seen in the last couple of years, for anybody in the Japanese, lawmakers, their chambers, their diets and everything like that, for them to actually act upon these things. And that's why we're just now starting to see them act on these things by instilling laws that at least attempt to protect people on the internet from this kind of behavior. Am I going to end soon? Probably in the next hour, maybe. Yeah, probably in the next hour. I think that the term Mendere is probably more appropriate, because because she's not necessarily a yandere as, if you look at her and if you were to gauge her in real life, you would look at her and say, she looks like a normal, very attractive woman that has mental issues. And it's not her fault that she has mental issues. Okay, it's not her fault, and people keep blaming her for having these issues. It's not her fault. All right. If anything, if anybody, if okay, I'm gonna make a statement that people may not like to hear, but I'm gonna make this statement. Okay. If, and it's the big if anybody was to blame, it would be the parents. Okay? It would be the parents, because they had not done enough to get her the right kind of help when she was growing up. Okay? Now, that being said, okay, she may also have not shown these symptoms until after she was 18. And the reason why I say this is because in a lot of cases, manic depression does not show up in women until they hit 20 to 30. Okay? However, there are warning signs when a child is, growing up, that they may be developing this kind of behavior, and one of it is social withdrawal, or lack of being able to make friends, that they are, not as social, or that they act out, and they can't keep friends because they keep acting out, those types of things. However, it's not something that you can easily just take a pill and say, okay, you're cured. Part of the behavior that they experience is something that's what's called maladaptive. And what they have to do is they have to learn either how to manage it, or they have to learn how to change that behavior, and use a combination of behavioral changes and medication in order to live a normal life. And that's kind of where she's at right now. Unfortunately, she's probably not getting, or even probably not even doing half of what she needs to do, because she kind of wants, she right now, if she doesn't have anybody else, okay, and this is another if there is nobody else but her working on this problem that she has, she probably feels so overwhelmed with this, with everything else that's going on, that she's not going to go through all the effort other than just give me a pill so I can get over this. And unfortunately, I think that's kind of where she's at. If I were her, or if I was sitting next to her, I would tell her, you took a break last time. You took a couple month break. She took like an 8-week break. She went and got her head right, and she came back, and she was slamming it for almost like 8 months until this all came out. I would really encourage her to say, hey, you know what? If I was your boyfriend, I would say, hey, you know what? Let's take a couple of months off. Let's take a couple of months off. We'll work through this thing. Make sure that you are good, and that you can hold it together. and that we do all the stuff we need to do to make sure that you're on the right track. And then once we have all those support in places, let's get back to it. Let's get back to what you do best. Because I can tell you right now, I mean, people are going to come back and say, "Hey, this is the girl that left 2 months ago, and look at what she is now." I mean, people flock to that stuff. People really enjoy that kind of stuff. Let's see here. Let me scroll back a little bit here. Blackcore and Any Color scandal, yes. Both of those scandals are very much so. Okay, real quickly, let's jump back to Any Color. Okay, now, the entirety of the Any Color scandal, the current scandal. I don't know why we need to frame it that way, but the current Any Color scandal the scandal itself was not the immediate cause of the downfall for their stock. It may have been the downfall for like their cred and popularity, but it was not necessarily the downfall of their stock. The reason why their stock tumbled so much is because when you look at the numbers, the number is basically, and I'll pull it up here real quick. See here, which one do I want? I want this one, I think. Nope, not that one. I want the other one. Yep, because this one has the actual numbers on it. Okay, so if you look at the numbers as a whole, we see an increase of almost 54%, almost 55, of a downturn on as a whole for revenue that came in. And the reason why we see such a big number here is because this was unexpected cost that Any Color experienced for doing their live presentation when they did their Niji Sanji festival. And while they did do exceptionally well at the festival, they unfortunately did not make enough in return to pay for the cost that was involved with it. And with the lack of any live events for Niji Sanji En, that is why we see the other part of the shortfall here of 24.6%, because that cuts into their commerce and their event streaming, as well as any kind of profit margin or what's the word I'm looking for? Or product or merchandise revenue. So they experienced a very, very big dip in operating profit, which is I don't know, if they just misplanned or what. But the other interesting thing that you can glean from their report here is so they have 159 talent on staff. So they that number only changed by one. But if you look at at number of employees from last quarter to this quarter, they've actually hired more employees for their company. They've hired 23 more employees for their company, and those employees are covered under the VTuber management, planning, content planning, event planning, program planning, media mixing, and corporate sales part of the company, which I find interesting, because if they've hired 23 more people, we don't know if they were if they're VTuber managers, or if they're VTuber planning managers or anything like that. However, it does beg to wonder, with all the problems that were reported with the fallout of the last controversy, maybe hopefully those things are being addressed with the hires that they have done over the last quarter. It's not like Sony is going down yet. They are going to do a lot. Well, see, Sony. I think what Sony was doing is they were testing the waters, is what they were doing. They were testing the waters to see whether or not it would be a viable product for. I mean, because if they could, look at PlayStation VR. PlayStation VR. They are dead set on trying to get this pet project to have its own legs, and rival other VR headsets. But yeah, it's kind of like, it's not as great as some other VR headsets, but some companies can make it look good. But you have to really work with specific things in order to make it look good. And it doesn't really feel right in certain games. So it depends on the certain engines, and it doesn't work with other technology. I mean, you just start, it's a pet project, right? And I think that's kind of what they were, hoping to do with VTubers, Live 2D, and everything else, where you can import these type of things and then eventually go 3D with a 3D avatar, kind of like what they were trying to do with PlayStation Home, with the whole walking around type thing with the PlayStation 3. Only make it in a VR type of setting. I think that's kind of what they were hoping that they could go to eventually, but obviously they didn't. But then you also have the thing where hey, if we do this and we can make stars out of people, we could springboard this and be ahead of the game and everything else. It's going to be kind of a pain for a lot of the girls once this Prison Project dissolves, because they're going to lose all of their all of their gaming rights to a lot of big companies, first and second party companies, unless they have some sort of stipulation where they can still play those games and be monetized for it. So I don't know how that all works with them, but I mean, it's going to be kind of a pain, because they're going to have to try to make sure that they stay within individual guidelines from now on, and they have to do all the legwork, which is really a pain in the ass. But you know how that goes. Hey Marco, question. Are you going to already answer that? Okay. Marco, really behind on chat. Yes, I am very behind on chat. Hi everyone, the Cold2T. I said hi to you. CJC, I'm not talking about the stocks, but people reaction about VTuber industry, it's is it really worth being to be a VTuber, both solo talent side? Well, okay, so that's the other thing. All right. So I've quietly asked, talked and asked around. All right. And the immediate reaction that we have been seeing, at least in my opinion, from the reactions I've been getting, getting feedback from, are the illustrators are still, backlogged with work for VTubers. A lot of the VTubers themselves, feel like, if they ever stopped being a VTuber, they would stop streaming completely. Because they feel, the most safest being behind a VTuber identity. And a lot of other people look at it and they just see a what they considered a fad. It was either a fad or it was something that had its legs and its use during, like, COVID, lockdown, all those other things. But now that we've moved beyond that, there really isn't a use for it. And if you listen to some of the big mainstream people out there, that the big guys, the big streamers out there that have millions of subscribers, they mock VTubers. They don't see what the appeal is, right? But yet these are the same people who, if you ask them, what was your gateway anime, they'll say, oh, it's Dragon Ball Z, or they can list you like their top 5 anime off the top of their head. And it's like, okay, so you obviously like anime, but yet you don't like people that are using an anime character to stream. Why? We're basically just voice actors. Yeah, I mean, we're basically just being a voice actor that controls an anime character. I mean, what's the problem with that? And then you get the other guys out there that are like, they're like, oh, bro, that if there's a girl VTuber out there, that she's freaking ugly. That's why she has to use the avatar. And it's like, I can show you at least 5 off the top of my head VTubers that are fine as hell in real life, that would put any girlfriend you have to shame. And I got pics to prove it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, there's a lot of opinion out there. But as a whole, I see that there is a decline in there is a decline in the excitement of trying to jump onto the bandwagon. But the question is starting to become, okay, now that we have some kind of foundation that people are working off of, how do you innovate off of it? What's the next step? How do you go beyond Live 2D? How do you move it to the next level? Is there another level you can move it to? And part of that question really does have to go with, how innovative can you get with, say, the Unity engine, or if you have to go to a different engine in order to innovate on Live 2D, or even whatever they use. I'm assuming that they use maybe they use aspects of Unity for Hololiv's 3D engine, because that's all they hire is Unity engineers. So I'm assuming that's what they use. But then you have to look at that and say, okay, how much collision detection can we get away with? How much how much clipping can we tolerate to, and not break the illusion, so on and so forth. How do we make clothes act appropriately, all those things that really come into play. And most of the time you're not going to get the smaller guy to actually innovate that, but you probably could. But most of the time, the rest of us are waiting for the big guys to do that, So, yeah, you would really have to get a bro that is actually, gung ho of wanting to, be that person, who is the grandfather of the next step in VTuber, But I feel like that's kind of the rut that we're stuck at right now. I mean, I actually went and browsed the the shop area where I got my model from, and I was just looking to see what what was being sold and what was what people were buying and stuff like that. And I mean, models are still going for gosh, they're still, some of them are going for like 12, 14, $2,000, even higher depending on movement and different portraits and full figure, half figure, but for full torso, half torso, all the different movements and stuff like that. I mean, they're still going for a good amount of money. Show us pics, Marko. Hey, I have showed. I have showed. If you still have access to my my Discord server, I have showed several things there. Hey, Wiley, welcome to the chat. How much did my model cost? After exchange and paying fees and everything, I paid $80 US for my model. I got mine dirt cheap. And he retired my model on the sale site, which because mine was a general purpose model, and he retired my model about like a year and a half ago. So, assuming that there is no one else out there using this model, this is the only model that's currently in use. So, yeah, $80. So, Wiley, welcome to the chat. We have been talking about everything that has been going on with Mikeneko, as well as her current situation, as well as the current situation of the VTuber industry as a whole, because they're, believe it or not, what is happening with her is also happening. It is also indirectly making waves with the industry as a whole. And like I will show you down here, like there are a number of articles that have come out in the last 48 hours that are talking about the sustainability and everything else regarding VTubers, or at least the VTuber companies as a whole. And some of it is blaming the current controversies that have been plaguing the VTuber industry, both this year and years prior. But me as a whole, I think there's more going on than just that, because like I've always said before, where one stock goes, the other stock goes with it. And if you look at the ride that Covercore has taken over the past year, you'll see that there is a relatively same path that they both take. Despite the fact that Cover has grown exponentially since last year, over the past year. They have the same peaks and valleys. So where one goes, the other one goes. But the fact of it is that that there has been a kind of like a crash. and part of it does have to deal with because investors are starting to get a little worried that that this project, this VTuber industry project is running out of fumes. So I mean it's literally going to be up to Hololive to save the day over the last next couple of days with their festival, because typically what happens, and I've talked about this before. Typically what happens is in the next couple days, Hololive will do their festival, and then right after their festival, they will release their yearly physical report, and then they'll outline what they have planned for the next coming year. And typically they do it that way because they end on a high note with their festival, and then they throw their numbers out there, and as long as they're positive, or they keep going in a positive direction, that encourages investors to put more money into their company. And since they're a public stock now, people will buy into the company and say, oh, well, Cover's going to lead the way then, because any color can't handle it. Cover's going to lead the way. They have their shit together. So they'll buy into Cover, and then you'll see them recover, and they will eventually surpass any color as, the industry leader in at least stock wise in the VTuber industry. But it's like I said, it's going to be up to Cover to like really sell it, because if they don't sell it and they end kind of on a flat note, there's going to be more people kind of contemplating whether or not this has run out of steam, and you're going to start seeing people start doubting it. So. But how does Mikeneko fit into all this? Well, she did try to make an attempt on her life. Luckily, she was unsuccessful. She was taken to the hospital. She was under observation. She watched the doctors took her in, diagnosed her. She did have actual doctor's reports that that showed that that's what she was diagnosed with, and that she had she was able to convince them to discharge her so she could go home. According to her stream, I mean, she spent a lot of time apologizing, and she spent a lot of time basically saying, I just want to be able to talk and have fun with you guys. I don't want to, I don't want to, keep streaming and see nothing but hate. And she's, I kind of get it where, she's been getting a lot of flack for the fact that she concealed her marriage. And I mean, there's a lot of people that just aren't going to forgive her for that, and I get it. I get it. There's people. I mean, there are people I have grudges against, and I would no sooner have anything nice to say to them than just say, hey, you stay over there, I'll stay over here, and everything's fine, right? So I mean, she wants to move on. She really wants to move on from this. And I get it. She wants to move on. Everyone, a lot of other people involved in this, as fans, just want to be able to move on as well, because they want to be able to move on with her. But there's also been an equal amount of people that are calling this, just an act, and that she's faking it. There have been people out there that have been saying, well, she saw Doki Bird do this, and now she's trying to get her own attention and stuff like that. And none of it's, I don't believe any of it's true. Listening to and here's the thing, okay? Listening to her and how she describes what she's going through, and just kind of listening to what she's saying, it does not sound scripted. It does not sound like she had planned it out in advance. She did say she had notes of what she wanted to say, but she quickly just went off on a tangent. And she went off on a tangent to the point where she didn't even know where she was in her notes, because she got so far off on trying to explain what she was going through. And again, I get it. I've worked with patients that that have had this problem. I mean, hell, I've talked to doctors and said, hey, I mean, I'm going through this thing, man, and I just don't know what I'm doing and where I'm going, and within half an hour, I'm on a completely different topic, and I forgot what I walked in there for. I mean, there are things that that there are specific behaviors, and I can't judge her body language, since I can't see her physically, but based upon on the way she talks, her cadence and everything else, there's enough there to be able to see that there is distress in her voice, and it's not fake. If it is fake, it's really, really, really good acting. I mean, it would have to be exceptional acting. And there's only one VTuber I have ever seen that has been able to pull off being that fake. I'm not going to say who it is, but there's one VTuber that I know that has been able to pull that off. And she's only slipped up once. But when she did slip up, it was very obvious. I don't believe that she. I believe that she did try. Didn't notice this. Except he has Naruto face mark. Oh yeah. So my model was a general purpose model, and my my papa, he charged for if you wanted to have any little extra things added to it. I just said, hey, I just want the model to see whether or not I want to do this thing, and I said, hey, I kind of like this model, so I'm just going to stick with it, because it works, it works. And if I ever did decide to upgrade, it would have to be after I can, be self-sustaining as a VTuber, which, I mean, right now, I'm doing it because I want to do it, not because I'm making money off of it. If I ever can make money off of it, then that may be a different story. But right now, I'm just doing it because I want to. You know what I'm saying? So, Yago, huh? It's been a while since I've heard him. Yeah, Yago. So, this is kind of going to go on Yago, okay? And again, we're going to go on a little bit of a tangent here, for the sake of the entirety of the story, okay? Because as you may or may not know, if you haven't already seen or heard, Yago and Covercore did put the notice out on the establishment and operational launch date of a subsidiary office in the United States, established as Cover USA. And according to this release statement, it says that we recently moved closer to completing the preparations for dispatching personnel from the head office to Cover USA. So we now expect to start official operations there from the second quarter of the fiscal year ending March 2025. Right, going forward, we plan to use Cover USA to step up activities in English-speaking countries, mainly North America, and expand the business structure of our local bases in accordance with developments. So there's a couple of things here. Number one, it is good to see that they have finally decided to take on this initiative, and they feel strongly about what they have put together. Second, this actually shows direction and growth within the company, which is very good news for the VTuber industry, because as we've seen, while Indie Color is faltering, especially with their EN branch, Covercore, on the other hand, is showing exceptional growth and intent on growing it even further over the next couple years. So this is very reassuring for people who are investors, because right now what they see is they see people talking about young women who are having these issues and causing these entire episodes of drama and everything else with Mikeneko, Doki Bird. We have seen Mel get terminated. We've seen pretty much the faltering of the Ian branch and Niji Sunji. We've seen countless VTubers on their Ian branch graduate. We've seen an entire generation in production kawaii all graduate at once, and then you had one before that graduated. There is and then, like we've said in chat before, we've seen a lot of other companies fold over the last year. So there's a big question mark that remains over the company on whether or not it's still a viable product to invest in. The reassuring thing is that, especially with people like Mikeneko, is that she has an affinity for wanting to be there for her fans, and for her listeners. As I was going through it and translating what she was saying, she kept saying it over and over and over again. I want to be able to get back to my listeners. I want to be able to talk to you guys. When I get when I get the feeling of just wanting to disappear, I realize I don't want to disappoint you guys. I feel like I want to talk to everyone. It's kind of hard for me to talk in real life. It's very painful for me to talk in real life. I think there's 100 times more places to interesting places on the internet than in real life. I've always loved the internet, and I want to talk with I want to talk with everyone without being harassed. And she begged. I mean, she was literally begging, please just go away. I mean, over and over and over again. Please just go away. Please just stop, go away. I know I made you mad. Now please just go away. Over and over and over again. I mean, excuse me, it's almost like they wanted her to this, they wanted to make her cry. You know, that's literally what what they're doing. They were trying to make her cry. They were trying to get a reaction out of her. You know, and she was trying her best to put up a brave front. It's very sad to see. It's very sad to see that people don't have anything better to do with their lives than to harass somebody online. You know. You don't think that her announcement is related to HoloFest? So wait. The cool to hang on. Did I miss something that you said there? The cool 2T. You don't think that her announcement is related to HoloFest? So if you mean and and just for the record, no, I'm not talking about the penguin. I'm talking about somebody who currently is under the employ of Production Kawaii. But if the cool 2T, if you're referring to Mikeneko's announcement in relation to HoloFest, I don't believe there is any correlation between the two. Because according to what she said, both in her tweets or posts or whatever the hell they're called now, and what she said in chat, as well as what she said in the or what's being reported by JCast. JCast is actually reporting that that the entire situation is because she is continuously having people steal her illustrations and artwork, and they're using her artwork as their own. So yeah, it has something to do with that. And she talked about it at the very beginning of her chat as well. She said that there was a person that kept stealing her illustrations and using them without without compensation, without prior approval or authorization. And there were things that she hand drew, that she did herself, and that person, started doing a lot of terrible things online, and then they started, throwing everything that, she has been going through over the last 2 years at her, and they finally made her break, have a mental break, and that's when all this happened. So, and it's a bit of a shame in a way, and I don't fault her. I'm not shaming her. Okay, I'm not shaming her by saying this. It is too bad that this could be seen as them winning and her losing, that fight. However, what's important for her now is how she picks herself up going forward, and that also depends on how her fans react to this entire situation going forward. I'm sure some people are going to be like, this is too much drama. I'm just going to leave and move on. And there's other people that are going to say, hey, I mean, this is our girl. She's fallen down. We need to pick her up. We need to keep her going. We need to help her to do what she wants to do, and so on and so forth. So it really all depends on what's going on, and what's going on with, like, in her mind on how she's going to move on to the next thing, and then how her fans react to it. Really, bro, Marko really here, getting every class job you can find: detective, lawyer, doctor. Well, okay, I don't want to like brag about myself or nothing like that. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of tell you how it is though. Okay, um, so and I've actually been working on putting together a welcome video for my channel. Because they always say tell you, hey, you need to have like an introductory video, or a short about you video, or what, that kind of stuff. So I have 7 years experience working in mental health. All right. I also have a degree in IT and networking. I've worked an additional, let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years in IT, and during those 9 years, I spent 5 of them working for a hospital, and the other 4 I worked for a private business. So, and throughout working in all those environments, I learned that you need to have strong Google Foo in order to answer the questions you don't have answers for. And if you cannot find the answer with your Google Foo is not strong. And that was always the running theme, and what my boss and I started when I worked for the hospital. They were like, bro, have you figured out how to fix this thing yet? And we're like, nah, man, I'm still looking, man. It's like, come on, man, get that Google Foo going, And so we're just sitting there and we're just working on it. Got it, And he'd always come by, look, and check my work. And he's like, Marko, your Google Foo is strong. So, anyways, I mean, specifically the timing of her announcement. I know that the incident is unrelated to Hollow Fist. Well, I do think that I did find her announcement timing to be a little odd. I will agree with you on that. I did think that, considering the circumstances, there was no reason for her to rush back. And I will use Roboco's state as situation as a prime example. Roboco, she had her incident where she got really sick. She was rushed to the hospital, taken by ambulance. She went radio silent for several weeks, and then she finally, reported in a lot later, right? The only way I could see that why Mikeneko would feel compelled to want to get back and post this as quickly as she wanted to would be because, and I want to make sure I frame this correctly, when you are on when people have the mental, I'm gonna refer to, I'm gonna try to use layman's terms on this, okay? When you have what are called mental highs, you typically become very one track minded, and you want to be able to get that one specific task done, and you just keep on doing it, you are just completely infatuated with getting that one task done, right? And if her one task in her mind was, I gotta get back in stream, I gotta get back in stream, I gotta get back in stream, you know, that being able to log in and stream becomes an outlet and a release for all that anxiety that you build up when you get into that mental state, because you are already pumped up, full of adrenaline from being from being in that mental high. And you got to remember, see, she has manic depression. Okay, manic depression means you go through these very big highs and these very big lows, and people kind of misunderstand because they hear depression and they think, oh, well, she has to be completely mellowed out and black bags under her eyes and everything else. And that's not the case with manic depression, because manic depression, when you get manic, you go up to these incredible highs where, and she has talked about in length before, where she can't sleep for days. She may lay down and sleep for like 10 minutes and then she can't sleep anymore because she's just so fidgety, right? That's part of manic depression. That's the other side that she experiences. And if she is at that state, and the only thing that's keeping her like mellow or in a state of mind where she can think rationally is, like, say, Ativan, because Ativan is typically one of the first medications that's used, or lorazepam. That family of medication is typically used to try to calm people down. You get like extremely narrow-minded, and she's even talked about this before in length about how she just gets laser focused, and that's all she gets obsessed with, and she has to get that done. Now, I will also say that the fact that this incident happened on the eve of the festival is also, in a way, kind of, I'm not gonna say expected. Okay, I don't want to say expected. However, that you do need to expect some kind of that should be me type of attitude from her. That could have been me, that should have been me, that I should be up there with them. That was my life. Looking at from the outside, it basically having that rain cloud over her, and her looking in instead of being able to be looking out, and seeing everyone else, on the big stage. I mean, yeah, you're gonna see that, and that could have compounded onto what happened, which led to this. And it would be very fitting that an incident like this would happen. I'm not saying that we should have expected it, but I would also say that it would be it would not be outside the norm to see something like that happen, because that happens a lot with any kind of place, any kind of place where that could have been me is part of it. Hello, I am a longtime fan of Mikeneko-chan. Dicron, welcome to the chat. Thank you for coming in. We are just discussing. Let's see here. Marko, she has also been constantly on the internet for over a decade. It's too much a part of her. Yes, welcome to the chat. I want to let me get you a little bit caught up on what we have been talking about. We've talked about we've talked a lot about her past. If you look at my channel and my archives, we've talked in length over the last couple years about Mikeneko's past, about what she's been going through, and on a personal note, I have also spent a good deal of time looking into her past as part of my research into, so I could present a the best picture of what was going on as I could, based upon the information that's out there. Now, obviously, I did not know at the time that she was actually married to this person, to Mafu at the time. I don't think most people, unless they were in the know, actually knew about it until he leaked it out. There were always suspicions that there was something there, but there was never any confirmation with that. However, I have looked back over 10 years, or about 10 years. I have followed her post-haul live. I actually have her entire YouTube archive as Rushi on an external drive. I backed it up before it got nuked. So I've been able to reference over a little over 3 years worth of membership posts and so on and so forth. So I have a lot of info on her, and I've also done a lot of scrounging in the dark parts of the internet, so, and I've seen some of that stuff too. But so she needs rest like a year or two. Well, and here's the thing. And there's one thing I want you to know. Okay, as far as my channel goes, unless you are unless you're directly insulting somebody or picking a fight with me, which I know you're not. Everyone's opinion is fair game. Okay, everyone is entitled to their opinion in my channel. If you feel you don't need to delete your stuff, and I don't know why your messages got retracted, because I didn't do it. So I hope you did. I hope you didn't delete your spelling. Okay, all right. I just want you to know, I mean, unless you come in and you're picking fights with people, everyone's opinion is welcome here. Okay, and in fact, I encourage it, because that allows us to talk about why you feel that way, and why why maybe I in turn agree with it, or why I may see a different side of things. I agree with you completely that if Mikeneko was in front of me, or if and this is the thing that pisses me off, if I was Mafu, okay, if I was Mafu at the time where this whole BS blew up, I wouldn't have been the punk that bailed out on her and then tried to divorce her immediately afterwards, like he did. I mean, he literally divorced her like right after she got fired, and I think he's a punk for doing that. I mean, he was. I mean, if you go through, I know. I mean, I've read and I've gone through all the stuff that he claims that she has done. All right. And I look at it and I say, you know what? If I had a girlfriend that put me through 6 months of what he claims she did to him, I would not marry her. Okay, that it would be plain and simple. If I dated a girl for 6 months and she started acting that way, I'd be like, no, I'm moving on. I mean, especially if I was him, when I have millions of girls out there, screaming my name, I would not pick the one that is gonna act like a psycho, like he tried to make her out to be. I believe some of that stuff did happen, but I don't believe the context of what he said happened. All right, so. And I say all that to say this: if I were in his place, I would look her straight in the eyes and I would say, "Girl," I would say, "Girl, let's step away for 6 months." I mean, hell, you've made bank, you've made six figures, I've made six figures. Unless you have spent all that money on something, which I hope you didn't blow all that money on nothing. Let's step away from her a few months. Let things die down. Let's refresh our brains. Let's take care of ourselves and let this thing blow over and then come back. I would say that. In fact, I sent her I'm not opening this in front of y'all. All right. Well, hang on. I'm not opening this in front of y'all, and there's a reason for it. Because I did DM her, so this might be from her. I'm not gonna show you guys if it is from her. Hey, she did DM me back. Oh, shit. She did DM me back. She did remember me. Nice. Am I going to end soon now? I'm going to end probably in about 15-20 minutes. I'm gonna wrap it up here pretty soon. But I do want to share this with you guys. I'm not going to show you the DMs because I don't want to break my my trust with her. All right, because I have sent her a lot of DMs, trying to encourage her. All right. You got me. Don't tell Roboco. Please don't tell Roboco. Please don't tell Roboco. Why is my chat broken again, by the way? I need to figure out why my chat box is broken. So there it is. There it is. There's my chat. Right before right in the last 15 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to share this with you guys. I am not going to show you what it says, but I am going to share this with you guys because I want you to understand why I do what I do with my channel. I'm just putting up something there for you guys to look at. All right, so she did respond to my DM on X, and basically I sent her a DM, and I told her good morning from the USA. It's been a while. I hope you do read this. Please forgive me if my Japanese is bad. I hope you can understand what I'm saying. First, I'll be doing a live stream in English shortly on your recent updates, reviewing everything since March 14th and explaining the situation and things that you mentioned tonight. Second, I hope you understand that you are not alone. Despite the small scale, there are people like me fighting to protect you and your good name. Even though it is against the rules to talk to men, people like me are working hard to expose the slander that is sorry, I'm trying to translate it back to English. uh, to expose the slander against you, that is being said. You are not alone. Please listen to the doctors and get treatment if they say you need it. I understand you are fighting a battle. I have been in mental health for, or I have worked in mental health for 8 years. You are not alone. Please take care of yourself. If there's anything you would like me to say to the English audience on your behalf, please let me know. And she does say, thank you for thinking of me. So that is as much as I can share. But I do want to say that, I don't have. I want to preface this by saying, I do not have constant communications with her. We most of the time we do not have conversations. Okay. Most of the time, when I send her something or when I say something to her, it's typically just like, a couple sentences, because she does not want to, put out any more that could eventually turn around and be used, for whatever, So, she's always been real guarded when she does write something back. But that being said, she did remember me, and I have given her a lot of advice in the past that it at least seemed to kind of catch on when I told her. And it wasn't so much by her turning back around and privately telling me, but it was by her publicly going out and doing the things that, were in her best interest, that, she needed a push in the right direction. Okay. So and this is the entirety of why I keep doing what I am doing and continuing to follow her. All right. It's not because of fandom and or anything else. It's because, number one, I see somebody in need. All right. Number two, if I could take what is happening with her and encourage other people to have that altruistic attitude towards somebody that is like her, I hope, my hope is that if you see somebody else like her down the road, that you'll be like, you know what, that girl, she's like Mikeneko. Maybe I will tell her something positive. So, and that one thing that you tell them, that's positive, could make their day. You don't. I mean, you guys, my regulars in chat, they know what it means to have somebody say a simple sentence that changed my day. My chat knows, because when I sent Roboco a super chat, before I left for Christmas, right before I left for Christmas break and went down south to see my father, right? I sent her a simple super chat. I said, Merry Christmas from the United States. I hope you read this. I will not be available to see you on Christmas, so I hope you have a Merry Christmas. And I sent that super chat, right? I didn't expect her to see it, right? And if she saw it, I didn't expect her to read it or say anything. But right after I sent it, you could see her eyes move over and look at the super chat, and she smiled. and she said Merry Christmas right in the middle of playing a game, completely out of context. The context wasn't there. She was saying it in response to what I said, and that made my day, because during that time, I had this entire controversy that happened to me on Twitter regarding her, and I publicly apologized to her. And I said, look, all this stuff happened because I said one thing, and because of me, your name got dragged into it. And I'm sorry. And I'm taking responsibility for it. And I never expected her to even say anything to me anymore. Right? I mean, she has commented on me on some things over the last couple of years that really meant a lot to me. I mean, she actually, responded when I told her that my mom, before she passed away of cancer, she was the first VTuber my mom had ever seen. And she was very happy that she was the first VTuber that she ever saw. So I mean, to me, it means a lot, right? So if you could pass it forward, I think it works out pretty good, and that's why I try to throw a little bit of education into this, and not just be like what the sensationalized news reporter type VTubers, or or streamers that don't know what the hell they're talking about but try to talk about VTuber stuff anyways. That's why I talk about this stuff, and I talk a little bit beyond what the surface level is, because it's very important to know what's going on, not just with the VTuber, but what's happening with the talent. And I always tell people, and I will say it until the day I stop streaming, you always need to support the talent. Don't support the agency. Look at where we're at right now. Look how many agencies have folded, and look how many talent are out there that have either quit because they don't think they're going to have the support after leaving the agency, or they have moved on, but they've only been able to move on because you support them because they are the talent. You don't need to support the agency per se. I don't support Cover Core. Hell, I only pay membership to 2 people now in Cover Core. One of them's Roboco, the other one is Fuamoko. That's it. They're the only 2 I pay membership to. The rest of them, I've canceled all of them. It's because my money goes to independent streamers now. Because independent streamers need that money. Cover Core don't need that money. Not for me. And I'm not telling people don't buy Cover Core stuff, because I have bought a lot. I have a lot of Cover Core stuff. But what I'm saying is that I know that they already got their bread. They're already gonna they're set. They're gonna get that money. I want to be able to at least support people that are trying to make it as a VTuber, right? But I digress. What I'm saying is, when you come here to listen to what is going on, I don't just try to give you the juicy parts that I think you'd like. Because you gotta know the entire context of the situation, and if you want to see that deep dive, that's fine. I try to do the deep dive after I tell you the bullet points, not before. But I do try to tell you the bullet points up front, so you guys know what we're talking about and where I'm going to lead the conversation to. Admit the 2 timing. No. Okay, I'm gonna have to admit to 3 timing then, man, because at one point, at one point, I'll have to set everything up and then I'll take a picture of it. But I tell you the truth. I tell you, it's honest to God truth. I have about as much merch for Mel as I do for Roboco. So, and I haven't been able to get myself to break the seal on my Opie pads for either one either. So, because I'm like, which I can't choose. But let's see here. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to scroll a little bit back here. So I'm sorry about that. Bald Roboco is number one, man. Bald Roboco is number one. I always laugh every time she does that. Yeah, you don't do that as the family. Yeah, we want peace. Exactly. And that's what she was I mean, that's what she was almost crying about is, she just wants to be able to, have that, she wants that peace back, between just between her family and her, I mean, and that's kind of what most of us want, and that's, I mean, that's kind of a hard situation for her because, you can't put the genie back in the bottle, unfortunately. What a name, Mafu. Yeah, man, yeah, he did, man. See what happens when you chase them femboys? He chickens out and he just he wants his life back where he can like have 10, 20 women on him again, I mean that is an automatic red flag right there when you get married but yet you have your own apartment. It's an automatic red flag. Automatic. Yo, Marko, speak Japanese. Konnichiwa. Genki desu ka? Mi llamo es Mark. Oh, that's Spanish. No tengo dinero. I can understand Japanese better than I can speak it. 6 months of doing nothing enough. Well, see, here's the thing, okay? If Shadowmaster, hey, welcome to the chat. I did not see you pop in, but thank you so much for jumping in the chat. I haven't seen you in a while. Well, I haven't been streaming at this part of the day for a while either. Welcome back. It's hard to know what to advise her to do. She said that every time people ask her to take a break, she said she doesn't understand. Yes. See, and that's the other thing. Okay. Well, I think there's a couple things that's going on. First, okay, there's a couple things. In my opinion, there's a couple things because I've been. I've been trying to look at it objectively from the outside, so I don't know the inner workings of any of this. But if you guys remember when I'm sorry that I'm taking a long time with this one comment, but I think it's very important to understand this. Some of you regulars may remember that I put out a video a while ago saying, and I talked about why people should be worried about Mikeneko. And part of it was about her mental health, and the other part of it was about how she was monetizing herself, right? And how bad she was monetizing herself. I mean, she was literally, every platform imaginable, entire tiers that made no sense, that didn't give you anything other than, I guess the cred that you were paying $100 a month for it, that kind of thing. there was just a lot of stuff that she was doing that did not make sense back then. Now, when we look at it now, and we know that she one has been you know fighting a divorce thing, decision in court, two, fighting a defamation suit in court, and then three, fighting a number of other defamation court things in court. There's been several things that have been coming around where, and then number four, moving out and trying to find a place to live. She doesn't have the consistency of a paycheck, which is why she feels compelled that she does, she can't stop streaming, and she can't stop, she has to throw the biggest net out there, so to speak, to try to, keep herself afloat. I think part of it may have to do with lifestyle. I think another part of it may have to do with the fact that, she if you look at the numbers, and this again, it is all metrics that were, or analytics that were pulled from her YouTube channel. When she was working in CoverCore, she was making $1 million US per year in super chats. And of course that's before fees and taxes and everything else. Where Cover takes a portion, Google takes a portion, so on and so forth. And if Cover is anything like any color, you're probably looking. You're probably looking at maybe her getting maybe 35 to 40%, maybe. And the reason why I say that is because any color takes 50% off the top, and then they use that to pay for all the streaming fees that like YouTube charges you like 30%, or they expect 30% of your profits. Then you have to pay like the manager, and then you have, of course, a little bit goes to the agency, and then, you get to keep all the rest, that kind of thing. So, and then of course taxes and everything else. But, when you're working for an agency, that's all taken care of for you. That's pretty much expected, and that's going to be coming in. But if you're working by yourself, that, and you're a streamer, your income is going to fluctuate heavily based upon how much you stream. And if you don't stream, then one month you could only make like $5,000, and then the next month you could make 20, but then the next month you can only make $500, and you can't count on ad revenue with YouTube. You're gonna get ad revenue, but it's not gonna be a lot of ad revenue. I mean, if you're looking for revenue from YouTube, you're gonna want to get super chat or membership. Because that's where the money's at. And that's why you see her diversifying between here and Twitcasting, because Twitcasting is actually a lot easier for her Japanese fans to spend more money on her, because there are more bells and whistles that can happen on the screen and stuff like that. So it's more of an incentive, But I think she also feels a little safer over there because some of the aunties out there are English bros, and they don't really follow over to Twitcasting. So let's see here. Sorry for scrolling ahead. Yes, I admit to two-timing. A true fan will not leave her, especially now, but for now, she really needs to recover and professional help. True fans will wait for her and celebrate. As a fan, I don't even feel bad. Okay, so great point, CJC, and I just want to make a comment off of that, just real quick. So two things. Number one, it is perfectly okay to express your concern about her well-being. Um, it's very hard on fans that love and care for specific streamers, especially if you're able to relate to them on some level. So it's perfectly acceptable, so long as you don't let it become like an obsession or parasocial or anything like that. Now that being said, you also do need to understand that health, whether it be physical, mental, or otherwise, those things do need to take priority, including taking a break and everything else. And I totally agree with the she needs to take a break thing, because when she took her break, after she left Hololive, she took about, I think it was like a 7 or 8 week break before she started streaming again. She improved drastically, and she went and she was seeing a psychologist. She even admitted on her private Twitter account back then that she felt so much better after talking to the psychologist, and that he really understood her, and understood her concerns, and what she was able to provide her with advice on what to do, provide her guidance. And every time she'd walk in, she'd walk out and she'd feel so much lighter, because she got so much off of her chest, and so on and so forth. She was seeing a psychiatrist, and they had prescribed her medication. She even stated that she was on new medication. They had to do some trials to find the right one that she didn't react badly to, but they found something that she was working really well with. And I'm not gonna speculate on what that medication is, because there's so many medications out there that could be treated, her being treated with. So, but I do know that she is on anxiety medication, and that she is on antidepressants. So, one obviously balances out with the other. So hopefully you don't get those big highs and lows, but it all depends on whether or not she continues to either seek guidance from a psychologist, or whether or not maybe she stopped taking her medication and that's what happened, or whether or not you can develop a medication tolerance, and that could be what she's going through. So it's, of course, all of this is speculation, but we have to remember that regardless of what it is, we can encourage her to do something, and tell her, hey, maybe you should take, a small step back. But if she's dead set on not, then we should think about how best we can take the situation and make it a healing environment, so she can heal. And one of the best things we can do is we can encourage her to, if she's playing a game, really get in the game with her, so she really engages with what's going on in the screen, or if she's playing against other people, like with Mario Kart. I mean, we all know she has that that competitive nature inside of her, You know, even maybe even encourage her to play Super Smash Brothers so they let out some of that, that that rage that's inside of her or something like that. There's lots of things that people can do that can maybe get her engaged in what she's doing and less at what's on and people are saying, because people are gonna throw hate at you. That, I mean, especially now that things are have happened the way they've happened. So what? We're at a point now where that's so what. If you're gonna try to fight the world, and fight an army of haters out there, you're letting them win. But if you keep on moving on, and you don't let them affect you, I mean, what's the worst they can do? Keep spamming you? Oops. Let them waste their time. Umberto, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the chat. Hey, now membership for Fuamoko only means he's got it. No, they are little sisters to me. We'll leave it at that. They always they have been and always will be little sisters to me. And man, let me tell you something. Every time every time I watch them, I tear up because I do miss the days where we had a little bit more personal interaction with them, and their chats weren't like 5,000 people, and there was maybe 60 of us, where we could kind of sort of maybe somehow be able to have them see what we're saying. I do miss those days, but yeah, they always have been and always will be my little sisters. I should really finish clipping that because I did rip their last stream, and I was gonna clip in the individual songs and then upload them. And according to their manager, they said that's no problem since I'm not monetized anyways. So, bro, we got 15 viewers. Yeah, we had 15 concurrent viewers. Yeah, thank you for covering this in a neutral manner. I will definitely tell. Thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said, I always try to cover this kind of stuff in a neutral fashion, and I try to tell it at like it is. Yes, I have my own opinions on things. Yes, especially when it comes to, things that are very personal to me. But that being said, I like with Mikeneko, I have always defended her as somebody who was being wronged by somebody, all right? And the reason why I did it that way is because until you can prove it to me that she is guilty of something, how can I condemn her for something that I have no proof of, And if I could put together a complete timeline of things and consistently and coherently disprove every single thing that is being used against her, that evidence is complete garbage. That's just the way it is. But that's not sensationalized, so people don't like it. So that's why my channel stays so small. But hey, that I am who I am. That's just like with with any color. Any color I have spelled out exactly what, everything that has been used against them with this current controversy and with the controversy with Doki Bird. And I mean, I have even broken down and have taken been able to provide a speculative, based upon actual company numbers, a speculative but a smart guesstimation of how much each streamer made during the last quarter. And the reason why I was able to do that was because I took the numbers out of their physical report, where it says, this number here represents how much was given to the streamers for for their pay and compensation, and then you just divide it by how many streamers they have. I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, it provides you an average. It may not be everyone's contract number, but it's an average. I mean, stuff like that. It's like, people don't take the time to do that kind of stuff. But I always try to provide the best view that people can see, and then actually let them, hear my opinion. And then if you disagree with me, hey, let's talk about it. I'm not going to condemn you for it. I actually like it when people disagree with me and then provide me with a smart conversation on why they disagree with me, because there's been many times where people have said things in my chat, and I sit here and I stop and I think, and I'm like, that you're absolutely right. And here's the big secret between me and every other streamer out there, especially the other VTubers that talk about the news. I'm not afraid to admit that I'm wrong from time to time, and I will say it when I'm wrong. And I'll commend the people that come into my chat and tell me I'm wrong when they prove that I'm wrong. And I've had that happen many times, and I'm not ashamed of it. I learned from it, and then I appreciate that person that came in and told me that. I mean, what else do you want? All right, guys. Well, we have talked for about 3 hours and 15 minutes, which, I was only thinking about doing a 90-minute stream, but hey, 3 hours is good enough for me as well. We have covered quite a bit, and a little bit beyond the scope of what I was originally wanting to talk about, but hey, that's fine as well. Just to bring things to a conclusion for anyone who may have come in late, in a short summary, Mikeneko did try to make an attempt on herself a couple days ago. She was taken to the hospital for trying to OD. She has since been released from the hospital, and she is currently at home. And she has been told that she needs to talk to a psychiatrist in order to hopefully put her on some either medication or treatment regimen for what she's going through right now. And I do mention psychiatrist because psychiatry is the specialists that provide prescribe medication and treatment, whereas the psychologist usually refers them to somebody if they aren't able to provide them counseling for it. She is not going to be taking a hiatus, and she is not going to be taking a break or quitting over this. She does feel very remorseful for it, but she does obviously sound like she has been backed into a corner. So my heart does go out to her, because I know she's going through a lot, and I can kind of sympathize with her on it. So but what I do want to say in closing is that, hey, look, last couple years has been a bumpy ride for everyone involved, even as me as a a commentator and a spectator. It's been a very bumpy ride, right? But through it all, I have continued to try any and everything to give her support and provide her with as much support as I can, because I understand that she is suffering from a mental illness, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to laugh and point fingers at. It's a very serious thing that people live the rest of their lives with. Manic depression does not go away. It can be treated, but it doesn't go away. And it's something that she's going to have to cope with and live with for the rest of her life. And unfortunately, because she's in the public eye, she's struggling with it in public because she's a public figure. And what we can do is we can provide her with as much as support and encouragement as we can. And remember that even if and when things like this happen, there are things that we can do to try to make it better for her. Even if it's, even if it's small efforts that maybe she sees, maybe she doesn't. If we put a little bit of effort into it, it may go a long way. So, I do want to thank everybody that has come in and out today. This is definitely not my normal streaming hour, so I do appreciate as many people that have come in as possible throughout the last almost 3.5 hours. Dicron, thank you for dropping in. It's great to have you here. I usually stream at all times of hours of the day, depending on when and if news comes along. Otherwise, I typically stream, different gaming stuff at 8 p.m. Central Time. Today was a little bit of, this is happening, I better talk about it. So, thank you for dropping in. I appreciate you dropping in. I do hope that everyone that has come and gone or is here has liked, shared, and subscribed. Thank you. That's for the algorithm. I don't like talking about that stuff, but anyways, thank you so much for dropping in. CJC, thank you for dropping in. My head hurts like hell. Why does your head hurt? Wiley, I get, it's always nice to see you. I have not seen you in a while. I am glad that I was finally able to see you again. Why does your head hurt? Oops. It's because you stayed up or what? The Cold 2T, thank you for dropping in. Yeah, listening to me. Azra, thank you for dropping in so much. I really appreciate it. Umberto, if you're still here, thank you for dropping in as well. Thank you, my friend. You're always welcome here. Shallmaster, you popped in earlier. If you're still here, thank you for dropping in. Beavers, as always, thank you, my friend, for being here and dropping in. CJC, I think I said your name. If I didn't, thank you for always talking in my chat and having something to say. Appreciate it. All the lurkers that have come and gone, if you're still here, if you're not here, if you just came in, thank you so much for attending my stream today. I appreciate everyone. We are on that ride to mini monetization. I don't know if we'll ever get there, but if we do, we do, and I'll celebrate with you guys. But if we don't, oh well. That's perfectly fine. But hey, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for dropping in, and as always, contributing to the chat. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys. So have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever the case may be for all of you. Until then, this is Marko Yamashita signing off. Peace. And happy birthday to you.
I like to get paid, that's why I work every day. I'll be making money till I'm in my grave. Don't care what they say, I'll buy time with my money.